political obituary of Mr Banks.
David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I just want to take a really short call. I think that the Labor Party's obviously run out of things to say on this bill. It's a good bill. It's in the best interest of our tax policy, and we look forward to it passing through the House, Mr Speaker.
Is this a order? I'm asking order. I'll put the question if someone's not. Now, I'm addressing the member.
I think they're going to take a national
Trevor
speech,
Mallard.
Sorry?
I'm addressing the member. Is this a split call?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yes, it is.
It is. Oh,
5 minutes.
Sorry. Well,
Honourable Trevor Mallard, 5 minutes.
Only 5 minutes? That's shocking. That's absolutely shocking, Mr Speaker. I want to speak to the filing, annual rates, returns filing and remedial matters bill, and I think it's fair to say that I would like to focus mainly on the returns filing aspect of this bill, sir, because returns filing is a matter that is currently before the House, and the first thing I'd like to ask the Minister in charge of the bill. Do we have a Minister in charge of the bill in the House at the moment? Could the Minister in charge of the bill put their hand up? There doesn't, Mr. Speaker, is there a Minister in charge of the bill in the House? Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt myself, sir. I'm just checking. It's a normal practice when officials are in the House for them to be here to advise a particular minister who's in charge of the bill. And I'm just trying to check and see, because I want to address questions. To whom do I address those questions?
You would do that in the committee stage. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, the only purpose of having officials in the House is for them to advise a minister, and part of the second reading is getting the questions down for a minister for them to deal with at a later stage. And I think there are 3 ministers here. All I'm trying to do is work out which one of them is the minister to whom I should be addressing this, because there's always a minister in charge of a bill at any time.
The Minister is speaking to the House, and any minister that may or may not be listening in his office or wherever, and it's not the Speaker's responsibility to ascertain whether officials are in the House or not. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I do apologise. It's not a question of you ascertaining, sir. I can see the officials. I mean, there's no doubt.
Order. I think the member's trifling with the chair. I just ask him to get on with his speech.
Right. Well, Mr. Speaker, we'll just work on that particular question at the moment, and we'll come back to it. The first point that I want to ask, whoever the minister currently nursing this bill through its second reading is whether there is any requirement as part of the returns filing section of this bill for a person who is filing a return to read it. Because, Mr. Speaker, what we have had established by the police in New Zealand on another piece of legislation is that failure to read before signing appears to be an excuse under the law, for filing a false return. And I want to know whether this legislation has the same fault in it as the local government electoral returns legislation has, where a person who signs a document without ascertaining whether or not it is factual is committing an offence or not. And a relatively simple question that I'd like answered. The next point that I'd like to refer to is the limitation on deductions by partners in limited partnerships, which is in new section 39, which is sitting on page 31 of the bill. And what I would like to know is whether that section applies in the case of the limited partnership between John Banks and Sky City, which was established by way of consideration of the receipt of a plain envelope with a cheque in it, which may or may not have been opened. Mr. Speaker, and I think it is a matter which is unclear. Well, it was clearly open because the cheque was banked. But whether the person who was involved in the limited partnership, if someone else is in receipt of the consideration with regard to that limited partnership, and that is the person who opens the envelope, whether or not that person can use the deductions which flow from that for the purposes of new section 39 of the bill. The next area I would like to talk about is the taxable distributions from foreign trusts, Mr. Chairman. And I think the important point that I'd like to ask here is whether this has any relevance to any trusts held in Germany or held in Hong Kong, and whether any receipt from any distribution, taxable distribution, from either of those trusts held in either of those jurisdictions are caught in the Section HC 18, Section CV 13B, and whether any effect on the .com donations from any of his trusts are affected by the change from Section CV 13B to Section CV 13C, and I'd appreciate some comment from the Minister on that particular point.
Order. The member's time has expired. Dr. Kennedy Graham.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the interest of House efficiency, let me just sum up the Green Party position on this, which was quite ably presented by co-leader Russell Norman, both in the first reading and in the second reading today. We see there are small but significant parts of this bill that are positive, but in a more broad sense, we see this bill as essentially the tip of an iceberg of the government's general macro policy, which reflects a position that is socially regressive in its GST policy and its income policy, fiscally negative in increasing the deficit, economically irresponsible in increasing the national debt, ecologically destructive in not imposing a resource rental on water and not imposing a true carbon charge, and regionally skewed against Canterbury for failing to impose or introduce a levy that would make it fairer for Cantabrians in the broad recovery process that is in the national interest. For those reasons, the Green Party will continue to oppose the bill.
Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to stand in support of the Taxation Annual Rates Returns Filing and Remedial Matters Bill, and I've been listening very carefully to the contributions by members on all sides of the House, and I certainly respect the different points of view and those of the Greens, which I simply cannot agree with. And one of the things that we have found over the last couple of years is the very eloquent way in which they tell half a story very well. The so-called tax cuts for the rich completely ignore the fact that we now have one of the fairest tax systems in the world, once again, I think, whereas we saw increasingly distortionary tax policies being put in after 9 years of a Labor government, and that which the tax working group were very clear about. And this government, under the Minister of Revenue and the Minister of Finance, have set out on a path of remedying those distortions, and I think this bill continues that very well. I'm particularly interested in the software changes, and I look forward to talking about them in the committee stage of the bill. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, it's my great pleasure to support it.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Is the member seeking a party vote? The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
10 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 vote opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
The ayes are 106, the noes are 11. The motion is agreed to.
Taxation, Annual Rates, Returns Filing and Remedial Matters Bill, second reading.
This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day. And as it's now time for the House to rise, the House will stand adjourned until 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the 14th of August in the year 2012. Good evening, everybody.